session we come up to this and we check that how we get the count from these two different conditions. Okay, if the yes, then here it's a part start. First thing what we check the get the variable dummy variable to sum the total count. Okay, total count of the submitted request. Okay, so now here now we'll go here and put here variable now. Okay, now I put the few variables here and I give the variable name. Say now the variable here, as I can see. Okay, in a variable, and I say here initialize variable. See, the operation in initialize variable can only be used at a top level. You're getting? Means the thing is that you cannot initialize the variable anywhere. You need to initialize the variable after or here. You can initialize it. So what I do, you need to initialize variable after the trigger action. That you need to keep that thing. Okay, you need to just a minute. Let me check here. So I go in variable and I say which variable, initialize the variable, and I say check count. Check count because we are calculating the count. I give take the variable check count or temp total count. Temporary total count variable is there, and I make it as an integer and value is a 0. Okay, so after that, next thing is that we need to what we need to do. Variable is ready now. Now what we need to do, we need to loop and get some the those atoms. Okay, so what I do here, you have the length of those atoms. Okay, and here what I do, first thing what we need to check. Okay, well, you know that all the atoms are submitted and all the details are filled correctly, then only we need to take next action. Now here what I say, here I will use so here to temporary total efforts. And okay, so I will say, you know, the variable increment variable as we earlier discussed, and I set temporary variable and I use the value to increment it, which is get atom value, get not get atom, get atoms. You can take it from a get atoms with this condition or get atoms from this action also, because you know both retrieve the uh, same count of atoms. Okay, so what I do, temp total count, and I will take the count value effort days. Okay, now it will increment the count. Okay, now here whatever the count will be provided here in efforts, it will sum that count. Okay, so we just put some value here, and I just put here consider 356 and or 20 and 50. Okay, now exit redo. Now I'll do this operation here and I check that save, and now I will test this and manually automatically production test. Now we check that how it will retrieve. Go into the condition, the temp total count of the integer cannot be initialized or updated with the value of a type string. Okay, let me check. Our variable list setting efforts in the PDs, efforts days, which is in a single line. I will make it number. Okay, so required that the column contain the information, or I will automatically 0 decimal, and okay. Okay, and we check it again. I have changed the type of the field. I make it a number field. Okay, if you will not update it here, or you need to in a flow you need to convert string into the number, but it's better to modify the list column type. So I test it again. So it's running, and condition again error. Now what is the temp of the count integer cannot be initialized or updated with the value type float. Yes, let me change it. Okay, simple. I change that, initialize the variable with the float only. Quickly check. Oh, now it's working. Okay, now it's calculate and we'll get the final value. Temp total count. Temp total count increment by 3. Show raw input. 3 values 3. Just a minute. 53 and last is 73. Okay, so here anti-assessment, we can check here the total sum of the atom. 73 will be the total count. You'll get the 73 as a total count. It will increment because I chose the increment here because we loop through the atoms to get whatever the atoms will retrieve from this action. Okay, so increment, we increment it here, get the action name, proper name to the action. So I just go inside and rename it here. Increment which variable? Temp total count. Okay, we have taken it as a temporary variable and we use this variable at the final stage while updating in a work detail. Okay, so this condition is okay. Now we have fulfilled this condition. Our increment work fine, perfect. Now next thing is we move towards the, which is a tentative date. So tentative date, I just update the tentative date here. So I put some tentative date here. Consider 18 March. One is 9 March and another is 31st March. Okay, so bigger date is a 31st of March. Okay, now we need to, after looping through entire process, we need to extract the 31st March, or what I do. Okay, no problem. So what I do, we need to define the logic here, and that logic, it will retrieve the bigger date. Again we need to initialize some variable to get the our what date, largest date from the tentative date. So here what I do, I will create one dummy variable, okay, or temporary variable, and it's initial. Okay, and I use that variable and I name it as a compare date variable. Okay, so variable here, and I go here, set initialize the variable, and here I set compare date variable. Okay, compare date means it will compare with the date, and now I take a string, and here what I do, I will take here the expression, because date is not there, date type is not there. So what I need to do, I will take one expression here, and it will take the current date, so that this field will store the current date value, and based on that we use that value, okay, today's date, as a compare date for today. Because from whenever we fill these details in the Power Apps form, we restrict the selection of the previous day's date. Okay, so here I will go here and I say UTC new now, UTC now, okay, and I say okay. So, expression inherit, just a minute. Okay, so here UTC now. Okay, so save result. So I rename this variable here quickly. So rename as say date variable in months. Okay, so now here initialize variable, always keep habit initialize temporary days count. Okay, now what I do now, you know that initialize, initially it is store the that compare date variable store the value of the which value, today's date. Okay, now the thing is that what we need to do, just a minute. Now what I do, here I go here, or here also we are looping into the, just a minute, here we are looping into the this action, the value returned from this action. So same I will use here, we are looping on through the atom, and here in this loop what we need to do, we need to use the tentative date here. So what I do, here we need to compare the dates, here, two dates we need to compare, and I say here condition. See, if you have any other logic, you can check bigger date. Okay, you can use that logic also in case you have any. And here I will say tentative date from against work ID. So see, whatever from this variable, from where I have taken this variable, from which action, which is this action, this get atoms from IA against work ID. Same, see, this variable I have taken from this action, same action tentative date variable we need to select here. So I scroll down here, tentative date from same action. Okay, and is greater than, see here what I'm saying, is greater than, and I'm using my compare date variable. Okay, see, so I just use this logic and I'll show you how it work. Now see, if tentative date is greater than this date, then what do we do, we'll set the compare date value with this value. Okay, tentative date. So what I do, again I will update my compare date variable with set variable here, and I select my compare date variable and I set my value tentative date. So which value, we know that this value we have taken from tentative, this variable tentative date. Okay, that's it. Now save this it's time to test. Now what is the output we expect here in this loop? It's looping. It will get in loop. It loop into the atom. Those are retrieved from this action. Okay, those are 3 or 4 items based on work ID. Okay, so here it loop through that. Okay, so and it will get the higher. Here this is the string variable and this is the date time variable. Okay, and we check that how it will work or not. Okay, let me check. Wait, 6 minutes ago. I will change this. I select this code and I go here manual trigger. And we check that whether our Mahin 10, I have updated this variable exit. Okay, so now it will update the things and trigger the flow. I have updated this. Now in this case the flow will trigger and it will loop through that. Summation is there and here it will check this date with today's date. This is greater, then it will set the compare date as this value. Again it will check with this date. Again compare date will update it with this value. Again this value will check with this date. If this is a greater, again compare date update with this variable. Again it will check with this. If this is a greater, then it will use that date. Okay, so let's see. Successfully executed. It needs to be display set variable. See here. In our case now see 4 3, this is the value 4 3. At the end, what is my expectation? It needs to be 31st March. Let's see. I go in the next because it's in loop, that's why again 9 3 and here 31st March. Okay, but you may, if I what I do again I will say edit manual test. Okay, and what I do, I will edit this one. Okay, middle of this. Okay, and I set this next month value, April value, 6th April, and save. Okay, so it's triggering now and it's executing. Our main logic, we need to extract total efforts and larger tentative date. Okay, so I go here, apply to 1 2 3. Okay, so here it needs to be displayed. Action branching condition not satisfied. Okay, action branching condition is not satisfied. Means here it goes in a no. See what happened here. But my intention is I want the value in the, check the value in a variable. Show the input. So let me check the variable value. There is some issue because let's do what I do. I'll put something in a condition here and I say here compose action to check that, because what happened, last condition failed here. Compose input and compare it. I'll do the input. Okay, so here got it. I'll just show you what happened here. And now just to trigger the last action, there is no error in earlier case also. Now it will go in a no condition, but my expectation is it needs to be displayed which action, 6th of April. Okay, in compose there needs to be display, sorry, last action. Okay, so let's see, last failed compose. See here, last action failed compose 6. You get it, means last condition failed because last condition what failed, because this value is greater than this. Okay, that's why it's here. And now you please try to understand. Our variable, temporary variable, contain the value 6th of March. Okay, means my all the things are working fine. Means it now Now see, I'm not going to do anything. I directly if condition it. Now I have added this for testing. I remove this compose action and delete this. Okay, now I have deleted. Now what I do, I just minimize everything and let's see here. Okay, so check bigger date, it check the condition. Okay, means my loop part is over here and that those two values are in my hand now. Okay, so here what I do now, at this stage I will update the things in which list, work details list. Okay, work detail for work Mahin 10 total efforts, whatever the 73 efforts, and in April date needs to be updated here, which is the biggest date. So here again I'll say set update action, update and update item list here. Okay, now I select my list name is work details. See here, and now which item we are going to update. Okay, now here again we need to give the condition here because we don't have the ID now here. Okay, now here to avoid here one more action. Now here I don't have ID for this Mahin 10 item. Mahin 10 item I don't have ID, I have work ID. Okay, so what I do in a work detail here, what I suggest, I have 10 means you know that Mahin 10 we need to extract the part from this. So here work ID I know that, but here if we give directly the ID, so here from this it will here you know the Mahin 10. Please try to understand. Here work ID is this 10. This 10 is the ID for this internal ID. Let me show you. Edit current view and take ID at the second position of the column so that it will save our efforts while looping. Let's save this. Okay. Now ID is 8 here. Sorry, 9. This is ID 10, ID 10. Please ignore this. Please ignore this part because our at that time ID was not set. I will delete this. Maybe it will confuse you. Because while creating this ID we use this ID and same ID we reflect update it here, and this 10 means it needs to be goes here. Okay, so how you will update, so you need to again take the one more variable, initialize the variable and action, and I'll say variable variable and I say here initialize variable and variable name is now here see when item. Okay, here I'll say my variable name is work detail ID. Okay, my variable name. Okay, so rename I say work details and ID. Okay, so here integer and here. Now here while getting that value here Mahin 10 is here, but I want to extract that 10 part only. So again we need to write the logic extract substring from substring. You can say MS Flow or Power Automate. So how it will work, how to extract the substring logic, substring starting index integer, length text string, here file extension string, length of integer, just a minute guys. Again it will, okay, so initially I will not work out in this anything. I quickly do it because I need to check on that. It's better I will go here and to make it more simple, to avoid the loop, that's why I'm saying I say get items here, and quickly I close this so that I say work details here and use the action here, filter action. I will say title. Let me check, we are out of this. Title EQ, and here I will say here request ID. So the request ID, work ID, and get items. Which request ID? Just a minute. It will reach out 3 times. Again, it will loop 3 times. Ho 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 ho. Okay, so I have created here. I use it in 0 initially, and I work ID, and what I do here it's already looping, so check bigger date, or above it I set it as an action. Here I'll say set variable, and variable name is work ID, and here I put the work ID from this ID, see, so that it will not loop. So I have set, and I rename it here. So okay, set work ID. Okay, now use this work ID here, get items, and I use that work variable here, compare date, no, work email ID, and we'll get this, and then I'm in update items. You know the ID which will retrieve from here. Here I'll say rename, get item from work details. Okay, so I use here ID which is retrieved from work details, get items from work details. I use that ID, and our intention here also rename, give the update 10. What is the column name which we update, which is the desired implementation date and total efforts. So update desired implementation date and total days. What is the column name? Total efforts, sorry, total efforts. Okay, if we have capture, if we extract the 10 here from this is my hinting, then no need to put this action, additional action. Okay, so but to write that logic it will take more time. So what is the total efforts? So total efforts is a temp total count, and desired implementation date is the compare date. Okay, that's it. Save. I run my last action now. Okay.
Hello,
Hello,
so title
so title
spelling is
spelling
wrong
is wrong. Sorry.
in
In
filter.
filter. Thank you. T I T I T. You take the internal name here. Okay, and I save this. Now check that. Go here, here. Now work details, and here IT assessment. Okay. In IT assessment, you know that I just update efforts here for the editing. I just update, and I'll say manual here, trigger action manual. So manual test, and I go here and I say efforts, say 51, say so 51, 20, 71, 74 will be the efforts, and date needs to be updated here 6 April. Okay, so it's execute, and we go here, and those details needs to be updated here in these two things. Okay, means after that we update that pending for IT assessment, not it will get updated with pending for the which is the operational manager. Okay, so let's check flow where it's stuck. Again error. So what is the error? Where apply to each, set work ID, but work details ID of integer cannot be initialized or updated with the value string. Well, oh sorry, I need to make it string. Sorry, again triggers action, because earlier I thought we set ID here, but now again I change and set a string ID. I keep it a blank and save and test it with the last action, with the last trigger test. Okay, again wait for a moment, check that how the flow is. See here, it's loop and it's executed and finally executed, and our values are updated. You can see here this one and 74s are updated. Now the thing is that I'll update the status. Again I will go here, status needs to be updated in update action. So here status column, status which needs to be pending with the operational manager. Okay, now status will also get updated. It's saving, and now I say test, test, test action, and we go here. See, it will update the status also. Where is the status column? Sorry, here. See, pending with the operational manager. See, it's executed and it's pending with the operational management. So everything is working fine. Now here in this flow we have not maintained any logs. So in operational logs, if you can see all the updates, all the things are up to date here. Slow execution log. If you select Mahin 10, here you can see all the logs are perfectly appending with assessment ID. Means we have testing whatever the test cases, those are, because in this case we have not added the work log. In next session we'll put the required work log. Okay, and then we move into the operational manager approval stage. So we stop here and tomorrow we'll continue.